Welcome! This is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. Today's video tutorial will be about infinite stars. We will use traditional quilt blocks, which will then be skewed. This tutorial was inspired by the work of Gayle Bong, who wrote the book Infinite Stars in 1992. Her technique used graph paper and pencil, but with EQ, it goes so much faster. Okay, we're going to get started by opening EQ7, and I'm going to first go and get my layout from the layout library. So I'm going to go to Libraries, Layout Library, and I'm going to go down to the Basics by Style, and I'll click on the plus, and then for this one I'm going to look at the one that says hexagonal. And this first one on here is actually what I would like to do. I'm looking for something with 12 points, and this one has 12 points. So I'm going to add that to the sketchbook. And then I'm going to go to the libraries and go to the block library. And for this, I want to pull in some 5 by 5 blocks. And so I'll go to 5 patch, and I'm going to do that one. And I'm pretty much looking for things that either have squares and half square triangles in it. I'm looking for something that can be easily pieced when it's put in a 60-degree block. So we'll take those. Now I'll search for a basic 4 patch. And I'll just take that first one and add it to the sketchbook as well and close that. So now when I go to my sketchbook and I go to the Quilts tab, the first item is that hexagonal layout, and I'm going to select Edit. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Border tab and I'm going to delete that border. And I want this to actually work as a table topper. So I'm going to go to the Layer 1 tab, and I'm going to delete the corners. And to do that, I'll take the Adjust tool, select the patch, and then delete it. Now what I would like to do is go ahead and set some of the blocks. And so for one item here, I'm going to take this, and basically all I need to do is set it in each of these spaces. And the beauty is because these blocks are already basically elongated, all I'm doing is replacing them. And then in the outside corners, I'm going to go ahead and set these as well. Now, if I do the refresh, notice that these blocks basically cut off these half blocks that are in there. So I do need to do some rotations so that they will go around. And so let me go ahead and do that. And that's just by using the Rotate Block tool. And so that goes all the way around. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to my sketchbook, and I'm going to go to the Fabrics tab, and I am going to clear all of the fabrics. And now I'm going to create a palette to work with, and I'm going to do some tints and shading. And so I will go ahead and select the paintbrush, go to the colors, and I'm going to find a color that I would like to work with. And so I like this blue right here. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to select Add Shades and Tints. And it's going to give me a grouping of items. I'm not sure if I want that one now that I'm looking at it, so I'll go ahead and pick another one. And select again Add Shades and Tints, and that's actually closer to I think what I was going to look for, and so all I need to do is add that to the sketchbook, and they're actually added to the end of the sketchbook. So now I can use a swap all colors, and I can play with the various tints. And I'll just select each of the blocks that I want to change. What I would like to do is now convert these to fabric. And so I want to go to the libraries, go to the fabric library, and I'm going to go by color, and I'm going to select select the gray blues, and if I do a Control A, it selects all of them, and I'm going to add that to the sketchbook. And I'm going to do the pale blues and do those as well. Select all. I'm going to use the random recolor. Now if this one is not in your toolbar, I have moved my screen so I can access the customized toolbar at the bottom, and if you click on that and click on the Add Remove buttons, make sure that you have the random recolor checked on. Okay, so now I'm going to select the random recolor, and I'm going to select Map to Fabrics. And so it's going to take all of the tints and hues in there, and it is going to add a fabric to that. Now, if this isn't the way you want it, in fact, I would like to make some changes to that, I can go ahead and go back to my Swap All Colors. Now go to the fabrics and go ahead and do some replace all fabrics. Okay, I think I like that a little bit better, and so I'll go ahead and add this to the sketchbook. Now, the one additional thing I want to do is deal with the size. This is huge. If you look at the bottom, you can see it's 100 by 86 inches. Now, I'm going to want to use my 60-degree ruler to do this, and so I'm going to want to work in strips that make sense. And so if I look, and if you look at from this point down to this point here, which is basically the size of one block, it says it's 29 inches. And that's a really big block. So if I count, you can see that I have the equivalent of 2 full blocks and 2 half blocks, so 3 blocks going down. Now, I think when I look at this block and I can see the 5 by 5 and there's like a 9 patch in the center, I think 15 inches would be a good size for that. So I'm going to go ahead and change the layout so that it is 30 inches. Now, before you ever change the layout, go into the More Quilt Work Table options, go into the layout style, the layout options for all styles, and there it says don't resize contents of layer when resizing quilt. Now I'm going to want to resize, so it's the fact that it's not checked is the way I want it, so I'll say OK. And then I'm going to go to my custom set layout, and I know that I want my height to be 45 inches, but I also need to change the width proportionately. So if it was 86.5 and it needs to be 30, I'm going to pull up my calculator and I'm going to go ahead and take the 30 that it ended up, divided by the 86.5, and then I'm going to multiply it times 100. So I'm going to basically get to that same proportion. And it would then say that my width should be 34.68. And so we do need to round, so I'll say 34.75. Now if I go back to layer 1, it actually looks the same, but you know, the blocks are a lot smaller. Now I'm seeing there's some red in there, so I think I want to change out one of the fabrics, swap all colors. I think I'll try this one. And I think that looks pretty good then. Okay, the other thing is I may not want to show this grid, and so to get rid of the grid, again, I'll go to more work table options. I'm going to go to the snap setting, and I'm going to uncheck the grid setting that says show grid, and I will select OK. And so now I have completed this. Now I do want to try another option just to show you how quick everything works, and I'm going to do a set block, and now I'm going to put the duck and duckling block in there. Actually, let's make sure that's added to the sketchbook before I do that. And now I can just replace all of these blocks. And look at how interesting those blocks are when you start to elongate them. And then I'm going to do the Lady of the Lake to be my border here. And I do need to again do some rotations, so I'll select the rotate block. And now I am going to pick a color to color that. So if I do the paintbrush, and I go to the colors, and let's try a teal for this one. And so I will right click, add Shades and Tints, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to the sketchbook. And now I will use a swap all color. I think that looks pretty good, all in basically shades of teal. And so I will add that to the sketchbook as well. Thanks so much for watching. For additional tips and techniques, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.